thanks for joining me. This is going to be a really nice flow, nice and gentle, to mobilise your spine, stretch out some tight areas, and hopefully leave you feeling really good. So we're going to start off in 4-point kneeling. Placing your knees underneath your hips, hands underneath your shoulders. Make sure your fingers are spread out nice and wide so you've got that nice stable base. The toes are untucked, so the front of the feet are flat on the mat. I'm going to start with some cat and cow, so nice and gentle. Exhaling, curling the tailbone down in between the thighs, letting the head fall down, looking down in between the thighs. And then as you inhale, lead with the tailbone, drawing a line up the wall behind you. Let the ribs sink down in between the arms, slide the shoulder blades down and open the breastbone out to the front wall. And then exhale, lead with the tailbone again, curling it underneath up into your cat, squeezing all the air out. And inhale, open out the front of the chest. Move with your own breath, exhaling into cat, inhaling to extend. Exhaling, feels so good to get the spine moving. And the whole time the shoulders are staying down away from the ears, there's no reason to crunch them up and crowd the neck. And focus the extension part on the upper spine, so really opening out the chest. And focus the flexion part on the lower spine. My lower back's really stiff, but you want to try and really curl that tailbone under as much as you can. Use the abdominals to help you. Let's just do a few more. Inhaling to extend. And then we're going to make our way back into neutral. And this time we're going to isolate the pelvis. So I want you to imagine there's a pencil on your tailbone. You're going to draw circles on the wall behind you. So we're drawing a nice round circle on the wall behind you. So the pelvis is moving from flexion to extension, but also twisting from side to side. So we're getting that nice circular movement. Keeping the upper body quite still now if you can. Obviously the movement ripples up through the spine, so you might find that you move around this bit. You might even find that your head wants to circle too, which is fine. Go with it. And then let's go back in the opposite direction, drawing those circles. So we're really lubricating the lower part of the spine and around the pelvis. And then we're going to come back, and now we're going to take it into a nice freestyle movement. So you might want to think about doing a figure of 8 on the mat, or you might want to just move in between flexion and extension and circling and side to side, and basically anything that feels good for your spine, your shoulders, your hips right now. So pressing back, you're really getting to the glutes and coming into one side maybe and then more into the other. Flexing, we really stretch in between the shoulder blades and that extension opens up the chest. So we're just floating around, moving in between all of those positions. You might find your own kind of flow here that feels really nice. And then whatever you're doing right now, I want you to just pause and then reverse it. So just go back in the opposite direction. Make sure you're not gripping onto any tension anywhere. All the joints should be nice and soft here. Just trying to lubricate them and have a nice stretchy, flowy feel. No stiff movements. We're also strengthening around the wrists. Taking a bit of weight into the upper body. And then bring yourself back into the middle, and I want you to open your knees out as wide as the mat, bring the toes together, and then you're going to sit your hips back onto your heels and slide your hands forwards in front of you to come into child's pose. So here we want to try and release the ribs down in between the knees as much as you can towards the mat. And if you can bring the forehead down into the mat, that's great. So you want to try and have the hairline in contact with the mat. That brings the neck into a nice position. If you can't comfortably get your head down on the mat here, you can place a pillow, a cushion underneath your head or some blocks, whatever you have really. But you just want to find a comfortable position where your head can be resting on something. So having the head resting on the ground or on a mat or a cushion lowers the cortisol level. So it's a really nice grounding position to de-stress if you're ever feeling a bit anxious about anything. It's a good position to bring yourself into. And while we're here, we want to think about sliding the shoulders down the back. If you want to make it more active, you can lift the elbows up away from the mat and press down through the palms of the hands. And think about pressing your armpits down. It really stretches out the upper back. If you want to make it more of a passive and restful position, you can let the elbows come down and just focus on your breathing. And you really want to be sending the breath into the back of the ribs. So think about breathing all the way down into the bottom back ribs. And see if you can actually use your breath to stretch out the intercostal muscles, so the little muscles in between each rib. It's a really nice stretch, because the front of the body is compressed, you can really connect to the back of the body. We'll just take one more breath here. And then we're going to bring ourselves up into 4-point kneeling. So bring your knees back into parallel. And then we're going to come into a nice hip flexor stretch. So you just step your right foot forward. So if it didn't quite get there, then use your hands to give it a bit of a help. And then bring your hands onto your knee to push yourself up into high kneeling. So from here, the most important thing we're going to do is to tuck the pelvis under. So by coming into that posterior pelvic tilt, we're opening up the front of the left hip and we're stretching into the psoas muscle, the deepest hip flexor. If you want to get a bit more, you might feel fine, like enough of the stretches here. If you want to get a bit more, you can sink forwards into the front knee, but make sure you don't lose that tuck under the pelvis, that posterior pelvic tilt. So when you've found your position, just check out the position of the upper body, make sure the shoulders are over the hips and the ribs are into the body, so the abdominals are engaged. We're not collapsing onto this front knee, we're lifting up away from it, so there's a big gap between the tummy and the knee. Abdominals are switched on. And then we're going to inhale the arms up and open out into a slight back bend, but we need to make it really big and open. So we're not compressing the back at all, we're lifting up and out. We're going to exhale to lower the arms and do that 2 more times. Inhale to reach up and out. Big stretch all down the front of the body. It feels really nice if you've been sitting down all day or stuck in a car. And then lower down. And then we're going to bring your hands down inside the right foot. We're going to come into a hamstring stretch. So we're going to press back, straightening the right leg. And if you can pull the toes back towards you, you're going to increase that stretch. The other thing I'd like to do is to tip your tailbone towards the back wall behind you. And that's really going to open out that hamstring muscle. We're going to bend the front knee, place your left hand down level with the right knee, and then rotate the ribs and open out into a twist. And then we'll exhale to bring the hand back down, press back into that hamstring stretch again, remembering to tip the pelvis behind you, and then come back for another twist. And last time, stretching into the hamstring. If this isn't accessible for you, you can be up on blocks here or holding on to anything really, any kind of props that you might have, some books piled up. And then last time, come back into that nice twist. Both shoulders are placed down the back here and we're opening out the ribs. The head is in line with the spine. And then we're going to come back and swap the legs over to do the other side. Just bring the left foot forwards. Make sure the foot's level with the outside of the mat, so you've got space. You haven't got the one foot in front of the other. And then again, we're going to tuck the pelvis under. So Tailbone comes down towards the ground. And then if you want a bit more, you can sink forwards into it, making sure you don't lose that tuck under. Big stretch in the hip flexor. And then make it even more. We're going to inhale the arms up, reaching up and out of the hips. This really is the best stretch to do at the end of a long seated time. And then lower down. Stretch out the hamstring. Flexing that foot, tipping the toe at the wall behind you. So think about the placement of the spine. Try not to be all bunched up here. Try and keep that nice length through the spine. And then place the right hand level with the left foot. And rotate to open up. Again, there's lots of space around my neck. And then pressing back to stretch the hamstring again. You might not be able to get this far. You might kind of be here and feel the stretch already. So just go to wherever you feel that stretch. Opening up. And last time. And finishing up with that nice twist. And then we're going to sweep that leg back. And we're going to come back into our cat and cow. But this time we're going to make it a bit more flowing. So we're going to move through it. So first we're going to flex our spine into the cat stretch. And then we're going to press back. I want you to stick your hands down to the mat. The hands aren't going to move the whole time. Lower your elbows down to the mat. And then stick your forearms down. And then you're going to drag yourself forwards in between the forearms. So the shoulder blades are sliding down the back. My nose is drawing a line up the centre of the mat in between the hands. When my nose is level with the fingertips, I'm going to look forwards, press into the hands and keep the elbows narrow as I press up into my extension. Flexing the spine at the top, pressing back, hips to heels, lower the elbows, drag yourself through as if you're trying to pull your forearms back, but they're not going anywhere because they're stuck down. Keep the elbows there as you press up. So a big tricep push up here. Exhale into flexion. Let's speed it up a little. So flow with your own breath and really enjoy the movement. Make sure that you're not skipping out any points. Think about the shoulders sliding down, opening out the breastbone, and then curling the tailbone under. Tail comes down in between the heels, then lower the heels. Then lower the elbows, and then pull yourself forwards. Let's just do 2 more. Flexing, pressing back, dragging yourself through. Last one. Drag yourself through, and then come back into neutral. From here, I want you to pick up your feet, cross the ankles over, place the feet down, and then if you can, roll back over the feet and flip them out in front of you. If you don't want to do that, then just come down any way you want to. So we're going to lie down on our backs now, and we're going to do windscreen wipers. So I want you to bring your feet quite wide, so kind of level with the outside edges of your mat, wider than hip width. And then release the shoulder blades down into the mat. Take a moment to just connect the back body into the mat. And release yourself down into it. Make sure the back of the neck's nice and long. And then let's open up the chest even more by turning the hands to face the ceiling. Make sure that rotation comes all the way from the upper arms. So we're nice and open through the front body. Have your arms just a bit wider than the mat. So we're really open and release down into the mat. And then we're just nice and gently going to let the knees fall to one side. The pelvis will rotate with them. And then come up and over to the other side. So try and keep your shoulders down. And just let the knees go wherever they can without causing any stress in the body. A really nice gentle movement. You might get some little clicks in the lower back. Little bonus. So we're not forcing anything. It's a really gentle twist. And if we want to have a bit more of a twist, Then we can take both knees over. If you want a bit more, you can slide the top knee on top of the bottom knee, which will bring you into a deeper twist. If you want even more, you can bring the hand and place it on the top knee and just gently ease it down. But don't let this shoulder come up. You want to keep the shoulder down the whole time. And then look out over your left arm and just take a few breaths there in the twist. If you're looking out to the left, you're breathing into the left-hand side of the rib cage. Again, an opportunity to stretch out those intercostal muscles and lengthen the waist. And then we'll gently bring the knees back up to centre. Step the feet apart again if you brought them together, and then let the knees fall over to the left. If this is enough of a twist for you, then that's fine, just hold it here. If you want a bit more, then slide that top knee on top of the bottom one. Make sure you're keeping the right shoulder down. Maybe you hold on to that knee to just ease it down a little bit more. Look out over the right arm. And with each exhale, just see if you can soften the body a little bit more. And then I'm going to roll over to face you. So we're coming into a sideline position. I'm going to do our chalk circle. So I want you to bring your feet in line with the back of the hips. And then lie yourself down. If you've got a cushion you want to place underneath your head or a yoga block, then go ahead. If not, it's fine to just have the head just resting on the mat, as long as your neck's comfortable. So from here, we're going to start by just sliding the top arm forwards and then bringing it back. So the hand is literally sliding across the palm of the bottom hand. So we're just moving the shoulder blade. The hips are staying stacked on top of each other. Let's do one more. This time we're going to pause with the hands slid all the way forwards. And then I want you to draw a circle around you on the floor with the top arm, keeping the arm straight. And when the arm comes overhead, you're going to rotate the ribs so you're looking up towards the ceiling and continue drawing that circle behind you all the way around. And as it comes down, just let the hand slide over the hip to come back to the start position. I'm just going to shift forward because I haven't quite got enough room behind me to circle the arm. So inhaling it up and over. If your arm's up here, then that's fine. Just work wherever you can, feeling that stretch, but aiming to get the hand down onto the mat. That's the goal. Really making sure you open the ribs to the ceiling at the back. Let's just do one more on this side. And then we're going to press up into a mermaid stretch, so we do the other side after. So I want you to come up into sitting with your feet over to one side, and then just, if it feels comfortable, you can stay here to do the mermaid stretch, or you can, if you want a bit more of a stretch on the hips, you can slide the front foot out. So we've got a kind of Z position going on, sort of number 4 position with the legs. And then I want you to try and get both sit bones down towards the mat. If you're all the way up here, then I would suggest you come into the previous position, or you can sit up on a block, which will help, or a cushion to help level out the hips. So you're aiming to get weight onto both sit bones. You will feel there's a bit more onto this one. And then when we're here, we're going to have a nice open side bend. So making sure both shoulders stay down away from the ears. And again, we're reaching up and out. So we're really trying to create space down the side of the body. And then we're going to flow over to the other side. Lifting up out of the waist. So think about lengthening both sides of the waist as you stretch. It should feel like a really nice stretch in the sides of the body. Now we're going to hold it on this side. I want you to rotate so you're looking over the bent knee in front of you. And then place the hands down so you're framing that knee. And then we're going to flex and extend the spine here. So you're going to flex, curling the tailbone underneath, and then extend. Feel like you're trying to pull your hands back towards you on the mat. Open out the breastbone in between the upper arms to extend. And then flex and extend. And one more time, flex, pressing away and extend. And then we'll come back up to centre. Bring your hands behind you and swing your legs around to the other side. So let's come down for our chalk circles. Remembering to come towards the front of the mat this time, so I've got enough room. So lower yourself down. Again, if you want the block underneath your head, then that's fine. Check that your feet are level with the back of the hips. So you've got a 90-degree angle at the knees. And then you're stacking your arms one on top of each other. Make sure you're not all crunched up here. You've got space for the neck. And we're going to start by sliding the palms over each other. So this whole sequence really relieves, I find it really relieves backache. If I'm feeling a bit stiff, then these are all of my favourite movements to do. We're going to pause with that hand slid over the top, over the bottom hand. And then we're going to draw that big circle all the way overhead if you can, rotating the ribs to the ceiling, opening out as you sweep the arm back behind you, and then just letting it slide over the hips to come back. Try and keep your knees stacked, one on top of each other. Try not to let the top knee slide open if you can, and you get the most twist. And last one on this side, this is a really nice big stretch underneath that armpit and in the pec muscle. And let's use the hand to push ourselves up. Ready for our mermaid. So again, I'm going to slide the bottom knee in front. And the other knee is kind of coming behind me. And I'm going to try and ground both sit bones down as much as I can so I'm in a nice straight line. And then again, we're going to reach up and out. So trying to keep weight on both sit bones here. And this is the last time we're going to come over the bent knee, and then we're going to rotate so our chest is directly over that knee, placing the hands either side, and then pressing away from the hands to flex the spine and pulling back to extend. Exhaling as we flex and inhaling to extend. One more. And from here, let's come over into 4-point kneeling. So place your hands shoulder width on the mat and flip your knees around so you're back into your 4-point kneeling position. We're going to come back into our child's pose and we're going to have a little stretch to each side. So have the knees a little bit wider than hip width, toes together. Sit back onto your heels, and then I want you to walk both of your hands over to the left-hand side of your mat. And when you get there, I want you to pick up your right hand and cross it on top of the left, reaching it just out over the left baby finger. And then we're going to try and pull our right sit bone back down onto the mat. So you're going to feel a big stretch all the way down the right armpit, all the way down to the right hip, hopefully. And when you're there, I want you to breathe into the right-hand side of the ribs. And then we're going to come up, walk ourselves all the way over to the right. And this time we get the right hand, place it out over just past the right baby finger. And then pull that left sit bone back down onto the left heel. Breathing into the left-hand side of the ribs. And walk yourself back to the centre. Release down in the middle one more time. Let's just take 3 breaths here. Notice how your back feels now. It should feel a bit nicer than it did at the start. You might feel like your hips are a bit closer towards your heels. And on an exhale, I want you to restack the spine. So you're going to come up to sitting on your heels. So slowly slide your hands back in as you restack the vertebrae one at a time. Back up to sitting. Let's bring the knees back into parallel. Come forward so you can tuck the toes under. Sit back on the feet for a moment to stretch the toes. And then bring the fingertips down, float the knees up, and let's come up through a squat. So bring the shoulders on top of the hips. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, lower the heels down as you rise up. And we'll finish up with 3 big arm swings. I know you can't see my upper body, so I'm going to talk you through. You're going to inhale to reach up towards the ceiling, and as you exhale, bend the knees, big sigh. Inhale to reach up, exhale, let it all go. Last one, release. And inhale to open up, circle your arms back, open out the chest and lengthen up through the top of the head and give yourself a little clap. Well done, thank you. See you next time.